Hey, everybody. I am Kimberly Braxton, your dedicated life strategist who helps Black women reclaim their lives, set empowering boundaries, and master self care rituals. And I am so excited for another Sparkle Saturdays. And I have two beautiful ladies here with me, and we are going to talk to you about living the expat life. So let's get into it. So let's start with you, Emily. Tell us who you are, where you're from, and what you do.
Okay, hello, Sparkles. I've been waiting to say that. I love Sparkle Saturdays. Hi, I'm Emily. I am from the Metro Atlanta area. Grew up in Decatur, graduated from Clayton County School. So, hi, all my Atlanta people. I am currently a curriculum and instructional specialist for a private school in Abu Dhabi.
Okay, and Danielle?
Hi, Sparkles. Well, I am from Atlanta as well, so our Atlanta girls are representing today. Graduated, okay, from like Smyrna. Now it's Atlanta due to the Brave Stadium. It's Atlanta now. Okay, I'm from Atlanta. Um, and I am out here working as a middle school teacher. I'm out here in a small Middle Eastern country called Bahrain. It is small. You may have never heard of it before, but I'm so excited to tell you a little bit about Bahrain. And I'm also representing my new company and logo, She Abroad. So yes, welcome.
Yes, I love the logo. I literally have it on my laptop right now. It's amazing.
Thank
All
you.
right, so we already talked about where you live in the world. Where have you lived in the past abroad? I don't know, Emily, if you've lived in other places. Okay, but I know Danielle has. So where else have you lived abroad, Danielle?
So I was thinking about it and I was like, I have lived somewhere else abroad, but I did it. So I was in Italy last year for a little while in Italy, and it was dope. I lived in a really small town called Formia Gaeta. Absolutely beautiful. Beautiful view. Just getting up and getting on the train and going to Rome. I would just get up and go to Rome, which is like an hour train ride away. The it was like 15 euros or whatever, 10 euros. And that's just the normal. People get on the train and go to different cities in Italy, and it was like dope. And I would just go there. Sometimes I would go there just to go to certain gelato spots. Oh my gosh, it's this one place by the Colosseum in Rome that has this lasagna, and it was amazing. Like I would go back just for the lasagna that I had there. So yes, that was the only other place I lived. So I've lived in Italy for a little while, like literally it was a hot minute, and then right back here to Bahrain again.
That's amazing. I literally want to go to Italy. I just want to eat my way through Italy, okay? Because I love Italian food. So I'm with you on that.
Yes.
Okay, so well, how did you all decide that you wanted to live abroad? And like what were your steps to make such a big move? Let's start with you, Emily, on that one.
Okay, so my decision to move abroad was actually on a whim. I didn't go through the traditional steps of going to the education fairs. Life was lifing for me at the time. My grandmother had passed away. My bonus dad, he was in and out of ICU. So I was just, just trying to get it together. And the representative from my previous school contacted me via email and was like, "Hey, we see you're at an IB school. We think you'll be a good fit for our school. We're going to be in Atlanta at this time. We want you to come and talk to us." And so I'm just kind of like, okay, why not? I have nothing else to lose, so why not? When I was hired on the spot, and when I came out to Abu Dhabi at my previous school, I was there maybe 45 days and I resigned. Like, I don't want to be here anymore. Uh, I resigned. One of my friends was at my current school, and her life was just amazing. I'm looking at her Facebook post, like, I want to do that. I want my experience to be similar. So she reached out to her principal And went to interview, and I told them, like, if I don't get this, I'm just going back home, because I wasn't actively looking to move abroad. And I got the job, and I've been there 4 years. I'm loving it. So my advice to anybody who's getting ready to go out would really, like, usually for teachers, you do the education fairs, or you would go through a recruiter like Adventurous or a teaching nomad. Or if you are a contractor or you're not within the education sector, Gulf Talent has a lot of jobs. But definitely do your research. Do your research before you just up and move across the world about the company that you're picking up your life for. So, yeah.
So, follow-up question, when you took that first position, was it in a more rural area of Abu
No,
Dhabi?
it was in Abu Dhabi City, right down the street from where we are. It was
Okay,
just
okay.
a different environment. And when I looked at the Google reviews, something in my spirit said, "Are you sure?" And I didn't listen to the voice. And, one of my favorite quotes is, the will of God will never take you where the grace of God will not cover you. And his grace definitely covered me, because I was moving on my own when I should have just been still a little bit and did more research. But when I took the time to really just be still, I found where I was supposed to be. And
Okay.
that's been my biggest takeaway, my biggest advice for anyone that's looking to come abroad. Do your research, talk to people that's at the company that you're going to, and really make sure it's a good fit for you, because the worst thing that you can do is pack up your entire life, move away from everything that you know and love, and be unhappy and depressed.
Right,
So
right.
do your research.
So the second part to that question, like what were your steps that you took to make the move over here? Like, you're still in Atlanta, like what were your
Mhm.
steps?
So once the recruiter reached out to me, it was a hotel by Lennox. We interviewed with them, and I had to submit like my degrees, my transcripts, and have those attested. They had to go through a whole background check. It was like a 6-month process with like the FBI clearance and your
Right.
police clearance. It was so much. I'm like, I promise I'm not a criminal. But did all of that, just wrapping things up back home, selling furniture, just looking at what bank accounts I could have, looking at my phone plan. How can I keep in touch with my family back home? I had to switch from Verizon to Sprint, so I'm able to talk, and contacting people that were already abroad to know, okay, so if video calling doesn't work in Abu Dhabi, so how do you talk to your family back home? And I talked to a couple of some former colleagues that also came abroad, just to do my research about what it was like to be abroad, but I didn't do my research about that particular company. So,
Okay,
yeah.
makes sense. What
Mhm.
about you, Danielle? How did you decide to live abroad, and what steps did you take for the big move?
Well, I had a plan. I wish I had the piece of paper. So it was 3 options I decided. It was either I move to another country, another state, or I just do something else. I go back to school and get a degree. This was like in
Mm-hmm.
2007 or something. I went to a fair, and let me back up. I actually was reached out by this company, and they were like, "Hey, we'll be in Atlanta. We want to interview you." Interviewed. I got accepted. Like, I got a job offer, like, right there. But the problem was I always wanted to go to Dubai. Like, I wanted to be in Dubai. I wanted to be in Dubai. I wanted to be in Abu Dhabi. I wanted to be in the UAE. Like, I wanted to be there. And so the one that they were offering was in Alain, or however you say
Mm-hmm.
it.
Elaine.
Like, in the country. Like, I was like, I'm not going over here in the country. Like, and then I started researching about it, because I accepted it, and I was like, oh, this gotta be God right here. This it. I know God want me to go over to Dubai in this area. And then I was like, nah, I'm not gonna do it. Because I asked people about the money, and it didn't equate. So then maybe like a month later, it was a fair going on in New York, one of the ISIS fairs. And literally the week before, I told my parents, I was like, yo, I think I want to go to New York to go to this school fair. My mom was like, okay, I'll pay for your ticket. Because it was like last minute. She was like, I'll give you my credit card, I'll pay for your ticket. And literally, when I got off the plane, like I think I called out of work that day. I don't work there anymore, so it's okay. I called out of work and I went, and I didn't have a hotel. Like I got a hotel the night when I landed. And then I went to the fair and I interviewed with so many schools, and it was a great networking experience too. I met with so many people around the world. And I had a lot of interviews. I love this one school, and it didn't work out. But that was actually a good thing. I would have been in Lebanon, and they had a lot of issues. This was 2020, or getting ready to be 2020, and they had a lot of issues. So I was like, okay. So then I was like, okay, God, I rejected my contract from my school. I was like, okay, I gotta figure something out. I'm going somewhere. Either I'm going to Houston, or I'm going out of the country, or I'm going to get a degree. And so what happened was I was on Facebook. I was on Facebook in these international teaching groups that are on Facebook. And I realized those are the key things to getting a job. Not the websites, not Teaching Nomad, none of that. Yes, you can get stuff through there, but those Facebook groups, I'm gonna tell you, that's the real milk and honey right there. A girl posted about a middle school science teacher in Bahrain. And I was like, it was a school that was just opening up. And I was like, I think I applied there on ISIS or ISS, however you say it. And I was like, okay, wait. And I messaged her, and it was Easter weekend. And she got me in touch with the director. I interviewed maybe 2 days later. And so he was like, okay, cool. Like right now, you the best candidate. It's 3 people right now, but you the best candidate. I'm going to get in touch with your references, send this. Like my references sent him something literally like a day later. He was like, it was one lady that sent him like 2 pages of a reference on me. And then one of my other references sent it, and he was like, I don't even need to know the other one. Like, you're hired. Like, I'm going to send you the offer. He was like, I know this is your first time, this is definitely going to be a leap of faith. He was like, I'm going to give you 48 hours to think about it, get back in touch with me. And like, I took a walk around the neighborhood that I lived in at the time. And I was like, oh, this is what I said I want to do. Do I really want it?
Right.
Because it's different when you got an idea in your head and you're like, oh, this is what I want. And then when you actually get it, it's like, oh, is this really what I want? And it was COVID. COVID was happening then. So it was a whole different time.
Right.
Doing virtual teaching. And I was like, Danielle, is this really what you want? Now, I prayed about it and I said, okay, Jesus, is this you? And, I accepted it, and I didn't tell people for a while. Like I told my main people, but I didn't tell people for a while. But then when it started to get closer, I was like, okay, it's summertime. Now we got to get this together. Like, so I began selling my things just like Emily did. And then I was making my moves to move in with my parents for a little while before my move. And I did a wave by type thing because, it was COVID. I was like, y'all come out, we wave by, I'll tell you about this place. So I had a little setup at this park in Atlanta. And I had a globe, and we had these little goodbye things. People came and dropped off letters. So I requested letters before I left. I said,
oh, that's nice.
Yeah, I said, I'm getting ready to go move to this country. I said, I need encouragement. I said, I'm going to pick up a letter when I need encouragement. I'm not going to read them all now. So that first year when I was here in Bahrain, I had maybe like 30 something letters. And when I felt like I needed to hear somebody's voice, I picked up those letters in the morning. And
wow.
Legit, it would be exactly what I needed to hear to get me through whatever that situation was I was facing that day, or however I was feeling. So for me, that was my process. I had always wanted to go abroad. It was something that was placed in me. And I always say God placed it in my heart and placed it in my mind, because it's something that wouldn't go away. Like it just me. Like when I got rejected by one company, I was like, okay, I still want to go abroad. I still want to do this. And here I am now. This is what?
Wow. Very interesting. Yeah, that's very interesting. I've always wanted to live abroad too, ever since I was about 9 years old. So I can relate to that. The other thing that I can relate to is not telling people, because people will say the most negative things. Like, you sure you want to go over there? Like, 'cause people really don't know. that you can actually live a better life than in the United States in so many other places. But people don't know that. And a lot of people have fear. So they try to talk you out of it. Like I've had people try to talk me out of it before I left.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if you all had that experience, you know, but I did. Like, so I get that not telling people because people can be dream killers sometimes, you know, or dream stealers or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, I didn't tell people either when I was getting ready to leave or when I was thinking about it, just because I'm an only child and I'm really close to my mom. So if you know me, you know my mommy. And nobody, when I did finally tell people, nobody really believed that I was going to go. They're like, your mama's not going to let you go anywhere. You're not going to leave your mama. And it was so many things that was going on as well. Like I mentioned, my pops had recently passed away. So it was just kind of like, you know, it's just so much going on. You need to take a moment to just grieve. And it's like, no, me and my mom, we say we had to grieve separately. And this was the best move for both of us. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's very interesting how people, it's that unwarranted advice.
Yes.
Like, I didn't ask for your advice. Like,
exactly.
This is my life, right? Very interesting.
I had a few people.
Very interesting. You know what I do want to say? This is not on our question list, but like, how hard was it to pack up your life in a few suitcases? Because for me, it was so hard.
Oh,
Emily, how hard was it?
It was so hard. And I'm just going to tell you, like, the state of chaos that I was in, I didn't pack till the day before I was supposed to fly out. So
what? OMG.
I'm just telling you, just chaotic. My mama's living room was closed everywhere. I trying to get the Ziploc bags, the little suction ones. It was just a lot going on. And then you start thinking like, oh, am I really doing this? Do I really want to do this? Like, no, I'm gonna do this. Living on a prayer.
That was the hardest thing to pack for in my entire life. And I am a globetrotter. So I really had my packing down to a science, but to pack for this move was like so difficult. What about you, Danielle?
Same. I did pack beforehand, like a week before, maybe like a couple months before.
A week?
And I will say this. I'm a lie. Because that last like couple weeks that I had, I brought 7 suitcases. Like I was at the airport with 7 suitcases. I did not care. I was like, I'm paying this money. I paid that money. I paid that extra money. They was like, ma'am, it's gonna be like $2 for a suitcase. I said, that's fine. That's fine. Because I don't know when I'm able to get these things. So that's fine. I bit the bullet. The credit card was swiped. And I have no regrets. I have absolutely no regrets. And I'm so glad that I brought things, like whether it was seasoning, whether it was my hair care products that I needed, because I needed them. I'm so happy that I did. But yeah, I was the person. But no, we was at the airport. I ain't gonna lie. Me and my parents was at the airport. Like every time I go to the airport to like come back to Bahrain, I'm always having to like shift some things around in the suitcase because they're like, okay, if you shift something around in here, that's me every time. Like even I've been living here. So I do have an issue with packing abroad. I have an issue. But in terms of if you want to take me on a little weekend trip or somewhere, I got it. I can do a carry-on to Abu Dhabi or Dubai. But packing.
It's the seasonings and the hair care. Because, as a Black girl abroad, especially when we have to have our seasonings, the Laris.
Yes,
we have to have that hair care.
The hair care and the seasonings. Okay.
The hair care and the seasoning.
Yes. Before we go on to the next question, I do want my viewers to know that not everybody here is an educator. Like I do have sorority sisters who are engineers who work for the nuclear power plant. We found out that there was an American jazz band that was playing here for a bit. Like you can do other things besides education. We just happen to be educators here right now. And Emily's background is even more diverse because your undergraduate degree is not education, right?
Correct. It's actually a bachelor's in intercultural and organizational communication. So I was all into business. I did not want to be a teacher. That was not the life for me. Got accepted into my MBA program and was just like, I think I want to make a difference. I want to be more impactful. And, I taught in Atlanta Public for 5 years. And those are my babies. I still keep in contact with my babies and came out here, and these are my babies. It's just a different culture, and now I'm going back into business. So it's just you can do everything out here. Everything that we have back home, they have it in other
Mhm.
countries.
Right, right. Yeah. And that degree is like the most important thing, I think, when it comes
Hmm.
to being out here abroad like this, especially in the Middle East, right?
Yeah.
Right.
All right, so let's get into this next thing, right? Living abroad often involves navigating unique cultural experiences, especially here in the Middle East, right? As a Black woman, how have you both managed and celebrated your cultural identity in your respective locations? Let's start with Danielle on that one.
Okay. So for me, being able to, so at my school, and I'm gonna be very honest, at my school, I am the only person that looks like me at my school. So it is different than where I've worked before. But I've definitely embraced. If I was in Atlanta, I wouldn't be wearing braids. I only wear braids just because of the harsh weather and the water pressure. So that was a change for me. And so even wearing braids and just hair has been a cultural thing. A lot of my students haven't had a Black teacher at all. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm the first experience that some of these students have gotten with a Black teacher. So me just being mindful of that, and even me as I walk and as I engage with people in this country, I've had a lot of people like, "Oh, I like your hair." Even in Italy, when our hair was braided, they was like, "Oh, I like your hair." I found that a lot of people engage with me based on my hair. And sometimes it's good.
Ooh.
Sometimes when you have people come up to you, wait a second now. So I do see that just as one part as a cultural identity, but another one I see also here connecting with people who look like me, who may
Mm-hmm.
not be the type of, because although we look alike, I do have a privilege that I do want to speak about, having that American passport. I have seen that there is a difference when you have that American passport and people talk to you a little differently. Because when I open my mouth, they're like, "Oh, they're like, oh, where are you from?" Because they haven't seen somebody that maybe looks like me. They have, but they not necessarily encountered it. But making sure that I am, wearing things like coming up is Black History Month. I'm gonna make sure my door is decorated with like the 30 inventions. So I have this idea. It's like leap into Black History Month because it's a leap year. And then I'll have like a calendar. And so I'll have for each day, it'll be an invention by a Black person. And even a conversation like a week ago, I wore my Martin Luther King pin. And people were like, because I wear pins, I love pins. And people were like, "Who's that on your shirt?" And so that was just me talking about like, oh, this is Dr. Martin Luther King. This is the civil rights movement. Talking about that, that some people have no idea about that here. I
Mm.
think that's a way to keep my cultural identity in this space that I am in Bahrain. But that's how I've done it.
Okay. Thank you. What about you, Emily?
Um, Very similar to that. Being a Black American here is very nuanced. Just like Danielle said, sometimes it's automatically assumed that you're African, and then we do have a certain privilege when we open our mouths and they hear, "Oh, where are you from?" Um, and when they find out that you're American, it's almost like the conversations kind of switch. And as a Black
Mm-hmm.
American, we're used to certain type of um, certain type of harsh conversations or things when it comes to like the
Mhm.
racial situations, and just having to control how I represent being a Black American. Because when I first got here, I was very angry about it. Like, there are Black people in America. There was this one guy in the cab. He asked me, where are you from? And I said, America. And he said, yeah, but where are your parents from? I said, America. And he's like, but where? No, I mean, like your family. Where are they from? America. And so just having to navigate that type of space where
Mhm.
sharing with other ethnic groups or other cultural groups, like this is what a Black American is. And even that conversation among Africans and sharing our culture with them, and explaining that, because Black Americans, we are the culture. We see our culture everywhere and everything.
Right.
And so just celebrating that, but learning how to do it from a place of love and as an educational point, because if you don't, it
Mhm.
will get to you, and you'll start feeling that anger and frustration, and just like, okay, I'm really getting tired of it, because it feels like you're always having to teach. But at the end of the day, we can help change that conversation as Black Americans abroad. We can show, like, this is not what you see on TV. We are not what you see on TV. So learning how to
Yeah.
move in love, and not just in love, but in firmness, without letting that frustration get to your being angry about it. And
Mhm.
some of the questions that might trigger is just coming from a place of curiosity. Like, they're not trying to
Right.
be mean, they're not trying to be nasty. They genuinely just don't know, because their only
No.
insight to Black Americans is what they see on TV. And unfortunately, what they see is not an accurate depiction of who we are. And so that
Mhm.
part has been really eye-opening for me, and just being proud of that.
Yeah. It's interesting that question, right? Because I've only gotten that here one time since I've been here. I've only been here for, it's going on 2 years. You all have been in the Middle East longer than I have. But I got that question from an Australian man while we were at a beach club, right? And so I had to explain, like, because of the effects of slavery is why we don't really know. Like, you know what I mean? Unless you've done your ancestry or whatever. But I usually get it when I'm traveling more so, right? Uh, but people just, they don't understand. They don't make that connection, that's why we don't know. Like, that's
Right.
why we can't say like where our ancestors came from, because we
Right.
don't know, right? So yeah, I get it. I get that. I understand your frustration. But yeah, it does come from more of a place of curiosity, right? They're not, I don't think people are trying to be offensive.
Mhm.
But when I had to explain to this Australian man, like, I started saying the statement, I said, well, because of slavery, and he cut me off. But that was a long time ago. I said, yeah, sir, you're right. It was a long time ago. But let me tell you why that's still important, because we were taken from different parts of Africa. We don't know. We don't know where we come from.
Right.
And so he was like, oh, just giving me goose pimples. I just didn't make the connection, right? So yeah, I get that. I understand that. So
Yeah.
for both of you, like, what have you gained? Like, what insights? So that's one of your insights. Like, that it's not coming from a place of, it's coming from a place of love and curiosity, this question, right? But have you
Mhm.
gained any other insights from the experience of, the merging the two cultures, right? The Middle Eastern culture while maintaining your own culture. What insights have you gained? Danielle, how about you?
Mm. The insights of the culture here, the Bahraini culture, or just the Arab culture. Definitely, I'm a little bit more mindful. This may be something I as an expat, I see myself as a guest in somebody's country. I don't see
Mm-hmm.
myself as trying to impose my way in somebody's country. So I am very mindful of how I dress when I go out. Um, Here in Bahrain, like, I'm not I mean, I do wear crop tops, but I'm not going to the mall with my crop tops because I'm respectful of the culture. I don't want
Right.
to impede upon anybody else's, anybody else's thoughts, beliefs about, what you should be wearing, what you shouldn't be wearing. So I'm very mindful of this. And we had this discussion in class
Mm-hmm.
during our advisory lesson to be, mindful about boundaries. And, I don't, for myself, that's one of the main things. I try not to, like, no PDA. I try not to, no hand holding necessarily unless, married and all that good stuff. So I try not to do any type of PDA. Even for Ramadan, I know it's different. Oh, did I get cut off? I think I got cut off.
No, you're still here.
Hello? Okay. I thought I was. Okay, great. No, so I know for Ramadan here, like, no eating of gum, when you are, in terms of eating, like, especially at my school, like, you eat in the lounge, like, and they'll put like
Okay.
paper over the doors so no one can see. So being very respectful of the culture here is something that I definitely respect, because this is not my country. I am a guest here, and the people here are very friendly, and I do not want to upset anybody because I
Right.
decided to do something that is outside of the norm, because I want to be
Mm-hmm.
respectful.
Right. Right.
Because I
Emily, did
read
you
too
want
many
to add?
stories. Too many stories.
Right. Right. Did you want to add anything, Emily?
Yeah, just around the same thing. As an American, sometimes we don't realize like how ingrained that American mindset is, that sort of entitled mindset. And when you're traveling or when you're going to a different country, you kind of feel like, well, why isn't it this way? This is supposed to be the way it is. It's like, no, that's the American way. So I'm more mindful of what I feel like is the right way, or how I like what we do back home. I'm not home. I'm not back home. I'm in someone else's home. So just having that level of patience and understanding, and just thinking to myself, how would you feel if someone came into your home and told you the way that you was doing something was wrong or incorrect, or was whatever personal feelings that you have? You have no right to say that. So I'm more mindful now about being aware of just my mannerisms, the things that I say, and really just checking myself and humbling myself. I guess I should say that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you, ladies. So, can you share a specific challenge you faced while living abroad and how you overcame it? Let's start with you, Danielle, on that one. Danielle?
Hello.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, my internet is like, I can hear you, but repeat the question again. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
My internet is so.
So, can you share a specific challenge you faced while living abroad and how you overcame it?
Okay. A specific challenge that I had while being abroad. I think for me is more so recognizing that I'm going to miss out on things back home, and being okay with missing out on those things that happen back home,
Mm.
because I'm gaining something here by being here. But it was hard. Like, it comes in waves. The missing home comes in
Right.
waves.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'm like, yes, I'm a bride, yes. And then sometimes I'm like, whoa, wait, it's Saturday night. I'm getting ready to go to work tomorrow. I work on Sundays. Like, I work Sundays through Thursdays. Like, that was a big change in itself over here. The Sunday through
Mhm.
Thursday, where it's like Friday and Saturday, those are the weekends, but then Sunday, everybody back home, y'all often getting ready to go out Saturday, and I see y'all on Instagram, and I'm on my way to work. And that was a change to me. And just catching up with people, being intentional about catching up with people because of the time difference. My relationships change. I have a friend, and she's watching. And my husband
Hey,
also had
friend.
said, both mentioned that your conversations will be different when you go back home. And I didn't realize that until I went back home and I started having conversations about my life abroad. And I recognized how different it was, and just the weirdness that I felt now that I have been abroad. Like, I can easily say, and it's a conversation that I've had where it's like, okay, I can go to Dubai for the weekend just because it's so close. And then if I'm
Right.
telling somebody, oh, I'm going to Dubai this weekend, it seems like a brag. I promise you, it ain't a brag. I promise you. I mean, that's a blessing. Ain't gonna lie, that's a
Right.
blessing. But they, you know, that's like going from Atlanta to Orlando. That's how long the flight is. Like, it's just like
Right.
that type of situation. And so I recognized my conversations changed and some of my friendships changed just because of the fact that I was living abroad, and I had to make peace with that. And it took a while to make peace with that. And even my own taste buds changed. Like, when I go back to Atlanta, some of the things
Right.
don't taste the same. And so my husband said, like, that was gonna happen. And I was like, no. I'm gonna love everything. Even Chick-fil-A tastes a little different to me now. But I still love Chick-fil-A when I go home. That's the first meal I get. But it tastes a little different to me now. So just realizing those things change, and also being away from my parents. Like, I lived like 30 minutes away from my parents before, but now it's like I live far away. So that was my biggest challenge. That was a lot. Sorry, guys.
No, okay. What about you, Emily?
Oh, I just relate so much to Danielle. I'm just like my Atlanta sister. The taste buds thing. I went home, had some American deli, the 10 piece honey hot lemon pepper sprinkle. And I'm like, it's so salty. I can't enjoy it anymore. I was so mad. But one of the things for me was just watching life continue for the people that I love, and I'm not a part of it. That's the part that I've been struggling with for 5 years. When I first moved over here, someone told me, like, you're going to be homesick, but you'll know when it's time to go home. And so I've dealt with bouts of homesickness, but she was correct. You will know when it's time for you to go home. Like, I have a friend who is getting married. Hey, Christine. And I remember us sitting, talking at her table about like relationships and going through it. And we've been waiting for this moment for years, and I can't be a part of it. Like, I'm not going to be there. I'm going to miss it because I'm over here. So it's things like that where you watch these major moments happen. Sorry, I said I wasn't going to cry. You watch these major things happen and you're not a part of it. And it's like you're living this great life. You're traveling. The passport is stamped. You are booked and busy. But, you know, that has been hard. And one way that I've learned to kind of work through that is having those scheduled phone calls, those video calls. Like, me and my friend were on the phone for 3-4 hours straight. It's really ridiculous how long we're on the phone. I talk to my mother every morning before I go to work and every night before I go to bed. Like, we're video calling, trying to keep that connection together. My friend, she's live streaming her wedding so that I can be a part of it, or at least be there. Like, I'm able to help her with wedding planning from over there. So it's just finding those little ways to stay connected to your roots back home, to make it hurt a little less. It is going to hurt. It is going to feel a little bit impactful. And people will be like, well, you chose this. You decided to move away. And it's like, yes, I'm very grateful for the opportunity, but that doesn't mean that I don't still miss and value what I have back home. And I can have both, you know?
Right. Yeah. All right. Well, community is crucial, especially when living abroad, right? So how have you both created connections and built a support system while living here abroad? Emily, you can start that one off.
Social media will be your best friend. There is Facebook groups like the Brothers and Sisters of Dubai, Brothers and Sisters of Abu Dhabi, Brothers and Sisters of Bahrain. So just put in whatever place you're trying to go and put Brothers and Sisters in front of it, and you will find that group. And one thing about Black people abroad is that we want to be cool with everybody. You are a cousin. We see you, it's cousin. We're gonna look out. We're gonna, we're gonna hang out, and
Yeah.
just finding those people who relate to you and your heart posture. So I have such a wonderful tribe here that even outside of just going out to brunches, going out traveling, they are truly my sisters and brothers that I will cherish for the rest of my life. Like when we're homesick or when you're going through something, that's where it is. We're having Thanksgiving dinners. Thanks, Malika. Thanksgiving
Yes.
dinners where it feels like home.
Mhm.
We're having game nights where we're on the spades table. I know we have a mutual friend, Jonathan. So I know we're gonna talk some mess like we're back home. It's just finding those little pieces of home and people that you meet. And
Mhm.
that's been the key part. Like I found a little piece of my home and all of these people from Tara, Malika, Precious, Lena, Jonathan, you, like just finding that it just helps living here feel so much better.
Yeah, I have to agree. I know when I first moved, well, Precious was the first one I connected with because I was like, I have an interview with this school. Does anybody know anything about this school? In the Brothers and Sisters of Abu Dhabi Facebook group. And
Mhm.
Precious was like, that's my school. And she sent me a private message and we had been chatting back and forth. And I was like, look, show me what this apartment looks like because I need to know. I need to know what I need to bring, blah, blah, blah. So I connected with her first. But then when I met everybody, I think I met you second. And then we ended up like having dinner, like when all of y'all came back. And it just really, I love your statement, finding little pieces of home in everybody.
Mhm.
And I love that because that's kind of what happened for me with you all.
Yeah. And I would
Danielle,
say
are you
like the
still here?
GCC, I think
Oh,
she went like
Yes.
a I would say that
okay.
being in the GCC area, it's large,
Hmm.
but it's small. Like Danielle, we have a
Yeah.
mutual friend. We were getting ready to go to Bahrain, and our friend Jonathan was like, I got a friend over there. Let me connect you with her. And we
Right.
connected, and she took us out, and we were like, Bahrain is fun. We didn't know
Yes.
Bahrain was fun like this. So just
Yeah.
connecting with people, and then they're like, I got a cousin that's in this country. You're going over there, they'll take you out. So we're just all cousins.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. So Danielle, what about you?
For me, so when I first got here, social media, like I had somebody hit me up and my Instagram was like, "Hey, I got a friend out there. She's teaching out there." And I was like, "Okay, bet. Like, hook me up." And
Right.
so, we got to chatting, we exchanged WhatsApps, and then I was out with her, and then she connected me with some ladies that worked at her school. And like we went out one night and it was like history. Those were my people. That was part of my, tribe. And then it just grew from there. Like with Bahrain. So Bahrain has a US military base here. So it has a US naval base. So you see Black Americans. So they used to Black Americans necessarily here. So then it just grew even bigger because of the military people that are here or the contractors that are here. We would go to different events. Somebody would be like, "Hey, we're going out to this going away party." You don't know who going away party it is, but you know you got some food. You're gonna be around some Black people. Y'all gonna play games, and it's gonna be a good time. And that's how
Hmm.
it was my first year here. Like it was just one really big family. And so coming back, so I left Bahrain and I came back. It is a little different, but I will say, even with that community, because it is transient because of the military, but I do have like really good friends. My friend Vicky's on here. Hey, Vicky girl. And she that's my road dog. But also having other like people I work with, again, like I said, I don't have too many people that look like me at my job, but to me, what's so crazy is the relationships I form with people who don't look like me. Like
Hmm.
really cool with James, like I said, my homie James. I don't care. James, I'm gonna send this to him. British white man, 67-year-old, but that's my homie. Like me and him, that we get each other. But I will say this, words that I use, he'll be like, what is that? So I have to explain words that I use, but then also words he used. He's like, I'm going to enjoy a cuppa. I was like, James, what is a cuppa? Like, is it a cup of tea? Is it a coffee? What is a cuppa? But it's like and I would probably have in my regular life in Atlanta, I would have never been friends with James from the UK, or my homegirl Sarah that I work with from the UK, or any of the people that I'm really cool with it from my job. But because this community that is created, we have a close-knit, tight community. And sometimes that could be a good thing, and sometimes that could be a bad thing. I made sure to keep myself separate with my work family as when I first got here, which I think has allowed me to thrive and allowed me now to connect with them again. But yeah, like it's crazy. And I really do, like you said, lifelong friends. Like, I do see some of these people being lifelong friends. Like I can go visit, like, I can go to UK and I have people there. I can go to South Africa and I got people there. I got a homegirl that I work with from South Africa, a couple, and a homeboy too. But just those different experiences and learning about different languages, I find myself saying like British words too sometimes. And I was like, dang it. So those things are now in my vocabulary. But then I also have people here saying like, what's up? And I'm like, it's
funny.
It's different. And so I really love my community. And when I say it's a community, it's community. My first year here, I got so sick. Where I was out of work for like a week and a half. I had a colonoscopy. Like it was just, my mom was like, do you need me to come over there? Like I was that down for the count. But I had people dropping off soup at my door. I had people, asking what I needed, orange juice, like no questions asked. What you need, we got you. Like, so it's been a blessing. I will say God has strategically placed good people around me. And I thank God for the people in my life that I met in Bahrain, in Abu Dhabi, in Dubai. I never take that for granted. God has definitely blessed me with folks.
Yeah. So Emily, let's go on to the next thing. So like, what do you think was your biggest area of personal growth with this whole living abroad experience?
Oh, finding myself, honestly, like finding who I am. Usually the summertime is when everybody goes home and I stay here. I decided I choose to go home in the wintertime, but the summertime is quiet. If you know anything about the UAE, it's Dubai and Abu Dhabi. You have something to do, not every weekend, every day of the week. So in the summertime, it's quiet. And I use that time to really kind of reflect on my triggers. I reflect on the person that I want to be, my faith. Being in the Middle East, they do not play about their faith. And it's something that is actually beautiful. Like on Fridays when we hear the call to prayer and the roads are jam-packed, stopping traffic, and you see all of these men going to pray, it makes you get stronger in your beliefs and really get centered in your faith. And that's what I've been doing. When I hear the call to prayer, I use that time to really reflect and be thankful to God about where he has brought me from and where he's continuing to take me. I reflect on how I respond with other cultures. I reflect on just what I want my life to look like. So one of the biggest compliments that I've received from not only my mom, but some of my friends is I could tell a total difference in you, in just your persona from who you were 5 years ago, who I was 5 years ago. It's a complete 180 of who I am now. And yeah, that's because of a lot of prayer, a lot of self-development, a lot of self-work, and not getting caught up in the hype that is Dubai and Abu Dhabi. Because it's very easy to get caught in the hype. but really staying centered about who I am and what my beliefs are.
Okay. What about you, Danielle? What's your biggest area of personal growth since living abroad?
Um, my biggest area of personal growth. I think my biggest area of personal growth has been like I've always known that I've had a voice, but using it now. Like people want to hear about my story, um, about this woman that decided follow whatever it was that she believed God said, hey, you should, I want you to live abroad. And I followed it, and I continue to follow it and to share the story, and the stories that do happen to me abroad. Because you know how sometimes I talk to people and I'm like, yeah, I'm a teacher. And then be like, oh, okay, what school you work at? And I'll be like, well, I work in a different country. And then I'll be like, oh, in a different country. So yeah, I work in the Middle East. And then that's a whole different shift now.
Right.
And recognizing that I do have, once that shift happens, somebody is interested. I have piqued their interest. They are interested in what I have to say, my experiences. So recognizing that I do have a voice and using that voice and not shying away from it because of anything else. So, and that was one
Right.
of the reasons that birthed She Abroad, that I want to share the stories of women that are abroad, that have chosen this lifestyle for however long, whether you choose to stay out here for, it could be a couple months, it could be a year, but taking that step, that is the biggest thing, taking that big leap, that leap of faith.
Right.
To go, because that is such a challenge. And my parents are my biggest supporters. They definitely are. They're my biggest supporters. I remember when I was getting ready to go abroad and we was getting ready to leave for the airport, and I was crying. And I said, well, I don't have to go. And my dad was like, your stuff packed, you going. Like, we ain't doing this. He was like, you can stay with tears for some other time. Let's go. And so, my parents were like, nah, like if you don't do this, like you gonna regret it. And so they have just watched how my life has thrived, has blossomed, throughout the transition of living abroad, and now being able to share my stories. Like, yo, I did it. And one thing my grandfather said to me, he said, you get to see God work in a whole different country. Like most people know God works in the US, but you get to see God works like in the world. Being able to share that and let other women get inspired based on that, I think is finding my voice in the midst of whatever I may be going through. That's probably.
That's a great segue into my next question. So, what advice would you offer anybody, but especially Black women, in regards to taking this big move to work or just to live abroad? Like, what advice would you offer? Emily, let's start with you.
I would say the first step would be to really know yourself. Because if you come into a culture where they're really strong in their beliefs, really strong in their culture, sometimes it could be a bit overwhelming. And especially your faith. If you are not strong in your faith and you go to a country that's really strong in their faith, it'll have you questioning some things. But really know who you are, know your faith, and reach out to the people that are there. Go and visit. Like, go and visit, see what it's like, find the beauty in it, and picture yourself there. See if that's some place that you can really live, because every place is not for everyone, and that's okay. That is okay.
Right.
Just find what it is that you're looking for and know your why. Like, why are you moving abroad? Because there are certain people that move abroad to save money. There are some people that move abroad for experiences. So, like, what exactly is your why? Because that will also direct you in how you move. If you come to the UAE and your why is to save money, you're gonna have to be strong in saying no a lot. You're gonna have to know how to say no and be okay with missing out on a lot.
Right.
If you're trying to have experiences, then, you have to know, okay, are you going to be okay with not having the savings that you want? Just knowing your why of why you're making that move as well.
Okay. Thank you. Danielle?
I think one of my biggest pieces of advice to Black women thinking about moving abroad is do it scared. Like, just because there's fear there doesn't mean that that's not the right thing for you to do. Definitely pray about it, but do it scared. Like, it's okay to be scared. I promise you, I cried on the way here. I cried. But then when I got here, I was like, hey. And one of my biggest quotes I used to say to myself, because sometimes I would get in a space where I was like, this is not like how it is in Atlanta. And I was like, if I wanted Atlanta, I would have stayed in Atlanta. I didn't want Atlanta. So stop saying you want this. You comparing it to Atlanta. If you wanted Atlanta, you would have stayed there. You're not there no more. So you embrace where you at. Like, you not there. So embrace where you're at. It's not gonna be like this. And I even had to learn that going from one country to another. Like, just because I was abroad 2 years in Bahrain, when I got to Italy, that was not the same thing in Bahrain. And I had to get used to that really quick. And that was a quick transition. It was hard. That was a hard transition for me. And that's why my butt right back here in Bahrain. Because everybody be like, "Ooh, Italy this. Try to live there. It's a whole different lifestyle in Italy. Nice to live. It's a whole different lifestyle to live." So that's all I say about that. Is just embrace it. Like, you came for the experience. Don't sit here and complain about everything. If you spend all that time doing everything and then you come over here and complain, that's a waste of time. You're gonna take whatever problems that you had or whatever you was trying to run away from, gonna take it right back with you, and you're gonna find something away. So you running from a breakup, and I get it, and I understand that, because I was trying to run away from people's back in Atlanta, and I mean, they still gonna hit you up. Like, they still gonna hit you up once you get here. Like, they are, and they're gonna try and come visit. So that's up to you whether you want them to come visit or not. But do it scared, embrace it, and like, just know that you did not come out to wherever you decide to be from, wherever. Like, if you come from Chicago, don't expect Chicago where you're going, because it ain't gonna be there.
Right.
Simple.
I love that. That's so funny. Being here, I'm gonna tell you, I personally feel so spoiled, right? So, like, when I go back home in the airport, I'm just looking at how dirty the restrooms are. Like, just something as simple as the public restrooms. Like, it's so clean here. Like, they make sure everything is clean, and it's just like, when you leave here and you go somewhere else, that's like, oh, I gotta use the public restroom.
Right.
Just simple things like that. Like, I just feel so spoiled living here. I love living here. I love it. And I did come here because I really just wanted a better work life. One of the reasons was I wanted to have a better work-life balance. Yeah. And then I also had like a professional reason of coming here. I just wanted to see how the pedagogy was, like, because I know a lot of countries are higher ranking than the US, right? Mm-hmm. So I was curious about just like, what are they doing with the pedagogy? Like, why are a lot of the international students so much more advanced? So I had a two-part reason of why I wanted to work abroad. So yeah, I feel spoiled living here. Like, they are very accommodating, and you can't get certain accommodations when you are in the States. Like, it's just different. It's just different. And I really, really do enjoy living here. So we're about to wrap this thing up, ladies. So before I get to this last question, is there anything else that you just kind of is nagging you? You just want to get it out? You want to let the people know, Emily?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, Danielle?
Okay, so then I realized, like, I put on a sweatshirt. This is my logo right here for She Abroad that I created.
It's
And so I
beautiful.
forgot to like it really showcase my lovely logo that I've created. So yes, sweatshirts. I'm gonna have it on swimsuits and t-shirts because the summer is coming up. So I'm ready.
Yes.
I'm ready.
Yes. Okay, so let's get into the last question then. Emily, so how can people keep up with you?
I'm so glad you asked. So you can reach out to me on Instagram _GlowM_ or LinkedIn EB Phillips. And then if you're stateside or abroad, my family's business is legacyessentialsinsurance.com. So we work with people on getting their legal documents together as far as wills, health directives, insurance policies. It's Black owned and operated, and we're going to look out for you. So check us out.
So definitely email that to me or text WhatsApp
Okay.
that to me so I can put it in the show notes.
Okay.
Sounds great. And what about you, Danielle?
Okay, so Instagram, you can find me on Instagram. I'm under she_working with the E. Working with like she twerking. Y'all remember that song? That was my song back in the day, and that's where that came from. She's working, but instead of she twerking, she working with an E. That was my thing. And then my other one, of course, is She Abroad on Instagram and on TikTok. Yes, I am on TikTok. And actually, like one of my TikToks got picked up by this other expat thing, and like people found me on there. So yeah, She Abroad. And I got my stickers. So this is so yes, very
Yes.
official. She
Love
underscore
it.
abroad, and then she underscore working, just like she twerking. So instead of twerking with that T, is she working with that E? Okay.
You better work,
Yes.
girl.
Right. And everyone watching, you can keep up with me at Grow Inspire Sparkle. On TikTok is grow_inspire_sparkle, and on Instagram the same. And I just really appreciate you ladies taking the time to have this conversation with me. I hope this inspires other women, specifically Black women, to take that plunge and just move abroad. You can live a better life. Even those who decide to go back to the US, because I know Emily is going back. I'm gonna miss her. She's going back. However, she's had the experience, right? You know what it's like over here. So those of you who haven't, take the plunge, do it. I mean, you're going to be like pleasantly surprised at the life you can live abroad. So thanks for watching, and we will see you again on the 4th or the last Saturday of the month for Sparkle Saturdays. Thanks for watching.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye. Shukran.
Shukran.